how the globalists destroy national sovereignty, destroy any cultural sovereignty, and bring in their plastic, synthetic Agenda 21. It's way past zoning. It's UNESCO, global governance, down to the political correctness, the speech, the light bulbs, the toilets, the food, the roads. It's total global governance covertly being put into place. And England, the UK, was a very strong, wealthy, rich people. And so they use the English and others to then just expand this corporatist, black nobility system that had come out of Italy, basically. And then you had the Norman invasion, and that brought that imperialistic system to it. And so it's not blaming the UK or the British people today. They're kind of the vestigial heart of this modern planetary program. It's just like the fact that we see eugenics coming out of the UK. It comes out of the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, a Transylvanian bloodline. We first talked about this in the mid-90s. People thought we were crazy. It's now mainstream news that the British royalty isn't British. They have the fake name Windsor. That's not their name. It's Saxe-Coburg-Gotha and a bunch of other names. And they're not even German. They are from Transylvania and are the direct descendants of Vlad the Impaler, or Count Dragon, Count Dracula. And that's why the old symbol for England, you know, before that, I mean, they didn't start fully coming over. You had a bunch of different houses. You had the Plantagenets and then the Tudors. I'm not going to go through the whole issue, but for a long time, at least 500 years, there's been this influence going on in England. And I'm not bashing people from Transylvania. It's just that literally the world empire goes directly back to Count Dracula. You cannot make something up this weird. Truth is stranger than fiction. Scottish John, get into some of the history of Scotland, this vote coming up, what some of the scams are that are getting pulled to try to keep you guys from going for independence. Yeah.
This is an issue that it's hard to understand. These people who have treated Scotland basically as a poor cousin for hundreds of years, now all of a sudden, when we want to leave, they're begging us to stay. And they're promising us, oh, we'll give you more powers, we'll give you this. Well, why didn't you give us this before? The reason we want to part from you is because of the way you've treated us historically. You know.
Well, you owe it to your ancestors to be independent.
Absolutely. The blood that's been spilt on Scottish soil over hundreds of years, it's just, it breaks my heart. And the thing that I'm concerned about now is the way this campaign is being manipulated. I was listening to some people in the Northern Islands this morning. They had to do it by postal vote. So they voted over a week ago. And what's happened since then, they've heard and said, well, I'm sorry, I voted for no now. I want to vote yes, but it's too late. There's also, the BBC are complicit in trying to screw this up. I'm very disappointed in the BBC, Alex. The BBC that I knew when I was a younger man, I had complete faith in. They're supposed to be unbiased because they're not supported by commercial interests. It's paid for by the licence payer, the British public. But now they're into it. They're up to their neck in dirty tricks.
What are some of the dirty tricks? I mean, we're hearing from the Queen, Cameron, all of them. Big banks are going to pull money out, on and on and on.
Yeah.
But then you guys will get access to all your own oil and gas, huge reserves of it, trillions and trillions of pounds, just ready to be put into the Treasury. It could almost be like Alaska, where the citizens all get a check every year.
Yeah. Well, one of the things they've done is they brought on a so-called expert and say, well, you know, there's not as much oil left as you Scots think there is, so it's going to run out in what? Well, if we stayed with England, it's going to run out anyway. What difference does it make? But one thing I found out yesterday, there was a guy, he's an ex-ambassador to, where is he? Estonia, somewhere like that. No, Uzbekistan. He was an ex-ambassador to Uzbekistan. And it turned out that in 1999, when the Devolution Act was being signed over by the Westminster Parliament by Tony Blair, the English government shifted the maritime line in the North Sea off the Scottish coast and it took away 9 oil fields from Scotland. And this was done under a cover of darkness, so to speak. Nobody knew.
You guys should demand it back.
Well,
once you got your country back.
Yes. If we get...
They had a war with the Falklands, they're going to have one with Scotland.
I know, yeah. It was about sheep. Imagine fighting a war about sheep, eh?
Yeah.
Talk about pulling the wool over your eyes. God almighty. Yeah, that was Thatcher. Yeah. But, yeah, it's sad to see the dirty tricks that are being played. I was going to say, yesterday, I saw a video yesterday. There's a bunch of Labour MPs showed up in Glasgow, and they're marching through the centre of Glasgow, and there's a guy in a pedicab following him around, and he was playing the theme tune to InfoWars on a big boombox, really loud. It was just brilliant. Giving them all a bunch of grief. But they were all going to see all these no voters, you know, all these people, these stupid no. So I don't understand.
Well, explain. So how do you vote if you do want to have sovereignty?
You vote yes.
Yes. But they've confused it where people think you vote no.
Oh, did I say the wrong thing there? Yeah. They're trying to muddy the water so much. And you'll see something on YouTube, for example, and then you read the comments, and the comments are like chalk and cheese, and you think to yourself, well, how do you take from what he just said so differently from someone else? It'd be like you saying to me, Nelson Mandela was white. And I say, no, wait a minute, I don't think so. How could you...
Well, that's like Obama saying there's no boots on the ground when he just sent 1,400 troops in the last month, 400 of them the day he says it, over to fight supposedly ISIS. And then he says that ISIS isn't Islamic. I mean, it's just lying to our face. And I know they've done it for a while, but now it's really getting intense. What are some of the other dirty tricks? Go over some of the history of Scotland for folks that don't know, some of the basics.
Well, we just a country of people that just wanted to mind their own business. Historically, we had the clans, and we had a different kind of way of living than the English. You know, sometimes there'd be a skirmish between the clans, but there was always a lot of respect. One of the dark incidents.
Clans or tribes?
Yeah,
tribes.
Basically, yeah. And we fought the last Jacobite campaign, the famous Bonnie Prince Charlie thing, the second Jacobite uprising in 1745, and we lost that. The English came in and carried out what they called the Highland clearances, which kind of scattered the Scots all over the globe. But just prior to that, there was the famous battle in Ireland by Prince William of Orange, the guy who came from Holland and kind of got plonked on the vacant English throne at the time. And this was a religious war, the Protestant Orange against King James's Catholic troops. And what happened shortly after that was, while they're trying to sort out all the business with the clans up in Scotland, stop us from wearing the tartan and barred us from playing bagpipes and just trying to destroy our culture, basically, all the clan chiefs were called to Inverness, which is a city in the north of Scotland, to pay their taxes. Now, William of Orange had set up this thing to where the MacDonald clan were coming over the Highlands, and because of the weather, they were getting slowed down. So they stopped at the Campbell headquarters, you know, their camp. And it was a Scottish tradition. If a different clan was visiting, you showed them hospitality. You put them up, you fed them. Well, what they did there was, in the dark of night, they slaughtered the MacDonald clan. They murdered them in cold blood. And that's the kind of tricks that they've played against us over the years. You know, I'm not a really educated historian, Alex, but just basically, we've been a. Well,
it's the old saying, why did the sun never set on the British Empire?
Exactly.
Because God wouldn't trust an Englishman in the dark. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm Welsh and everything, but I'm a Heinz 57. I don't have a dog in the fight. I can just see the center of government manipulation, the fraud systems that were brought into the UK, that were brought into those islands, is now the global system. And people need to be aware of that.
Exactly.
So it is a big defeat for the establishment if Scotland breaks away, in my view.
Yeah.
There are some pitfalls, because then you've got competing globalist arms. You'll just have Goldman Sachs come in there and try to take over your government and buy you off that way, even slicker. But still, it's the self-determination of the fact that your country's been conquered for 300 years. You want to get it back.
Yeah. And kind of, one of the Trixel players, there was an excellent example of this in the movie Braveheart, where old Longshanks is saying there, well, we'll offer such and such a clan chief, we'll give him estates and lands in such and such an area, just to break. But further down the line, he's going to come and murder that guy. And what happened during my lifetime, in my working life there, when all the jobs were lost and the manufacturing industry just collapsed, they were very clever in that they left a certain amount of people in work just to maintain the status quo, so to speak.
They do it in phases. Yeah,
but to keep those people, then they would zip it because they didn't want to lose their jobs. So that's how it's the old divide and conquer thing.
They know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
You got a bunch of notes. Let's run through your notes here. You got like 3 pages of stuff you wrote here.
Yeah. Well, just looking at some of the things that's being discussed in this, I've watched the 2 live debates with Sam and Alistair Darling. What a name, eh? Darling. Good God. A third of the Scottish budget goes on healthcare.